Hello, hello, hello. Can y'all hear me? This is going in and out. Here we go. Come on, man. All right, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, I'm here to read the last part of the Berlin Conference, at least the document. We're on page 10. I'm gonna hop right into it to go ahead and finish it off. Last we left off on Article 20, and so we're gonna start with 21, right at the top. Top right into it. All right. Article 21. In the accomplishment of its task, the International Commission may, if need be, have recourse to the war vessels of the signatory powers of this act, and of those who may in future accede to it. Under reserve, however, of the instructions may be given to the commanders of these vessels by their respective governments. Man, come on. One sec. Look at this, bro. Agreed to demand request. This is what they fucking mean when they say when dude is like war is the fucking continuation of policy by other means, because they just putting in shit, bro. This is what they mean by fucking jargon. God, bro. Agreed to demand request. So future agreement or request to Article 22. The war vessels of the signatory powers of this act that may enter the Congo are exempt from payment of the navigation dues provided for in paragraph 3 of Article 14. But unless their intervention has been called for by the International Commission or its agents in terms of the preceding article, they shall be liable to the payment of the pilot or harbor dues which may eventually be established. Article 23. With the view of providing for the technical and administrative expenses which it may incur, the International Commission created by Article 17 in its own name negotiate loans to be exclusively guaranteed by the revenues raised by the said commission. The decisions of the commission dealing with the conclusion of a loan must be come to by a majority of two-thirds. It is understood that the governments represented on the commission shall not in any case be held as assuming any guarantee, or as contracting any engagement or joint liability, solidarity. With respect to said loans, unless the special conventions concluded by them to this effect. The revenue yielded by the dues The revenue yielded by the dues specified in paragraph 3 of Article 14 shall bear as a first charge the payment of the interest and sinking fund of the said loans, according to agreement to the lenders. Article 24. At the mouth of the Congo, there shall be founded either on the initiative of the Bavarian powers or by the intervention of the International Commission, a quarantine establishment for the control of vessels passing out of as well as into the river. Later on, the powers will decide whether and on what conditions a sanitary control may be exercised over vessels engaged on navigation of the river itself. There should be funded. An initiative of the powers of the quarantine establishment for control of vessels passing out as well as into the river. All this, all this stupid shit to just say they putting up a fucking gate. they control and who goes in and out the river. Is that what Article 24 is fucking saying, bro? All right, I'm losing my patience. I'm really losing my patience with this shit, bro. Article 25. The provisions of the present Act of Navigation shall remain in force in time of war. Consequently, all nations, whether neutral or belligerent, shall be always free, for the purposes of trade, to navigate the Congo, its branches, affluents, and mouths, as well as the territorial waters fronting the embouchure. Embouchure? That's a fucking E, man. What are you? Waters fronting the embouchure of the river. The way in which a player applies the mouth of a river. Why didn't you just say the mouth of the river, bruh? What the fuck? Traffic will summarily remain free despite a state of war on roads, railways, lakes, and canals mentioned in Articles 15 and 16. There will be no exception to this principle, except in so far as concerns the transport of articles intended for the belligerent, and in virtue of the law of nations regarded as contraband of war. In all the works and establishments created in pursuance of the present act, especially the tax collecting offices and their treasuries, as well as the permanent service staff of these establishments, shall enjoy the benefits of neutrality. The places, I'm not reading that, and shall therefore be respected and protected by belligerents. Places sous le régime de la neutralité. Stupid fucking French shit is. A nation or person engaging in war or conflict as recognized by international law. All the works, establishment, whatever. All the fucking shits created in pursuance of the present act, especially the tax collecting officers and their treasuries, as well as the permanent staff of these establishments, shall enjoy the benefits of neutrality, and shall therefore be respected and protected by belligerents. So they should be protected by a bunch of motherfuckers engaging in war or conflict. Be respected and protected by motherfuckers engaging in war and conflict. It didn't say from. It said by these motherfuckers. At this point, I just kind of want to hurry up and get over this stupid shit. And Chapter 5. Active Navigation for the Niger. How do you pronounce Niger? It is Niger. All right, bro. Article 26, Chapter 5. Navigation of the Niger without except you put G you add another fucking G and you make it nigger. The niggers are from Niger. If we're gonna play the game of fuck, all right. No wonder nobody will view a nigga shit, bro. The navigation of the Niger, without exception to any of its branches and outlets, is and shall remain entirely free for the merchants of all nations equally, whether with cargo or ballast, for the transportation of goods and passengers. It shall be regulated by the provisions of this Act of Navigation, and by the rules to be made in pursuance of this Act. In the exercise of this navigation, the subjects and flags of all nations shall be treated, in all circumstances, on a footing of perfect equality, not only for the direct navigation from the open sea to the inland ports of Niger, and vice versa, but for the great and small coasting trade, and for boat trade on the course of the river. Consequently, on all the course and mouths of the Niger, there will be no distinction made between the subjects of the Riverian states and those of non-Riverian states, and no exclusive privilege of navigation will be conceded to companies, corporations, or private persons. These provisions are recognized by the signatory powers as forming henceforth a part of international law. Riverian states. Definition, you douchebags. Alright. Article 27. Where are we in time? This stupid thing still going? Article 27. The navigation of the Niger shall not be subject to any restriction or obligation based merely on the fact of navigation. It shall not be exposed to any obligation in regards to landing station or depot, or for breaking bulk or for compulsory entry into port. In all the extent of the Niger, the ships, the goods, in process of transit on the river shall be submitted to no transit dues, whatever their starting place or destination. No maritime or river toll shall be levied based on the sole fact of navigation, nor any tax on goods on board of ships. They shall only be collected taxes or duties, which shall be an equivalent for services rendered to navigation itself. The tariff on these taxes or duties shall not warrant any different treatment. That says differential, but the same fucking thing applies. Article 28. The affluent, whatever. What does this stupid shit mean, bro? No, this stupid fucking laptop clicking noise is going. The affluence of the man. Hold on. What? Free flowing water or a great amount of water? The waters of the Niger shall be. Man, that's what this stupid shit is saying. Affluence is fucking free flowing water or great quantity. So the waters of the Niger shall be, in all respects, subject to the same rules as the river of which they are tributaries. Article 29. The rivers, railways, lateral canals, which may be constructed with the special object of obviating the navigability or correcting the imperfections of the river route to certain sections of the course of the Niger. Its waterways, its branches and outlets. That's what affluence mean. I'm just saying that. Every time I say affluence, I'm talking about fucking water. That's what that shit is saying. It's the river of the fucking Nile. I don't know why they just fucking mumbo jumbo, man. Shall be considered in their quality by means of communication as the dependencies of this river, and as equally open to all traffic of nations. As on the river itself, there shall be collected on these roads, railways, and canals only tolls calculated on the costs of construction, maintenance, and management, and on the profits due to the promoters. As regards to tariff of these tolls, strangers and the natives of the respective territories shall be treated on a footing of perfect equality. Article 30. Great Britain undertakes to apply the principles of freedom of navigation enunciated in Articles 26, 7, 8, and 9 on so much of the waters of the Niger, the rest of its goddamn waters, branches, and outlets, um, as are or may be under her sovereignty or protection. The rules which she may establish for safety and control of navigation shall be drawn up in a way to facilitate as far as possible the circulation of the merchant ships. It is understood that nothing in these obligations shall be interpreted as hindering Great Britain from making any rules of navigation whatever which shall not be contrary to the spirit of these engagements. Great Britain undertakes to protect foreign merchants and all the trading nationalities on all these portions of the Niger which are or may be under her sovereignty or protection as if they were her own subjects, provided subjects that which merchants conform to the rules in which or shall be made in virtue of the foregoing. Great Britain rule you niggas. And they can't be held to violation of the commission. Article 31. France accepts under the same reservations in identical terms the obligations undertaken in the preceding articles in which of much of the waters of the Niger. It's the waters of the Niger. Again, they just repeating water twice. Unless it's the waters of the Niger, the other waters, branches, outlets, or somebody under protection. Article 32. Each of the other signatory powers bind itself in the same way in case each, Article 32. Each of the other signatory powers binds itself in the same way in case it should ever exercise in future rights of sovereignty or protection or over any portion of the water of the Niger and everything around it. Can you still hear me? Muted? It's not muted. Article 34. Article 33. The arrangements of the present Act of Navigation will remain in force in time of war. Consequently, the navigation of all neutral or belligerent nations will be in all time free for the uses of commerce on the Niger and everything around it. Wherever the fuck its branches and its affluents mean, the more water and shit its surrounding areas. Its mouth and outlets as well as the territorial waters opposite the mouths and outlets of the rivers. So the shit around it. The traffic will remain equally free in spite of a state of war on the roads, rails, and canals mentioned in Article 29. So even at war, you can still use this shit freely. All the words of the nows, along with the fucking Congo. The trade, transporting ships, troops, all that bullshit. That's what this shit sound like. There will be an exception to this principle only in that which relates to the transport of articles destined for a belligerent, and considered in virtue of the law of nations as articles contraband of war. Chapter 6. Declaration relative to the essential conditions to be observed in order that new occupations on the coast of the African continent may be held to be effective. Article 34. Any power which henceforth takes possession of a tract of land on the coast of the African continent outside of its present possessions, or which being hero, hero, hitherto, until now, or until point in time under discussion, there may be a need to replace what is hitherto being a Hasper method of payment. Just read the dumbass definition instead of understand. Being until, bill until now, without such possessions, shall acquire them, as well as the power to assume the protectorate there, shall accompany the respective act and the non-fiction thereof, addressed to the power signatory powers, the other signatory powers of the present act, in order to enable them, if be, to make good any claim of their own. Article 35. The signatory powers to the present act recognize the obligation to ensure the establishment of authority in the regions occupied by them on the coast of the African continent sufficient to protect existing rights, as in the case may be freedom of trade and of transit under the conditions agreed upon. Chapter 7. General Dispositions. 36. Article 36. The signatory powers of the present General Act reserve to themselves to introduce into it sequentially and by common accord such modifications and improvements as experience may show to be expedient. Article 37. The powers who have not signed the present General Act shall be free to adhere to its provisions by separate instruments. The accession of power each shall be notified in diplomatic form of the government of the German Empire, and by it turn to all the other signatory powers adhering to it. The accession of each power shall be notified in diplomatic form. So everybody signing the fucking thing. Talk to Germany. Such adhesion shall carry with it full acceptance of all obligations as well as admission to all advantages stipulated in the present General Act. Article 38. The present General Act shall be ratified with as little delay as possible, the same in no case to exceed a year. Sign this shit so we can hurry up and take over. It shall come in force for each power from the date of its ratification. I don't care. Meanwhile, so hurry up and sign this stupid shit. Go to Germany. Even if you didn't sign it at the current moment, you can still adhere to its provisions by whatever instrument fucking mean, and other place, duty, whatever. And Article 38. The present General Act shall be ratified with as little delay, same in no case exceed a year. You got a year to sign the shit. It will come into force for each power from the date of its ratification by that power. Meanwhile, the signatory powers of the General Act bind themselves not to take any steps contrary to its provisions. Each power shall address its ratification to the government of the German Empire, by which notice of the fact will be given to all signatory powers of present act. Come on, man. Stupid rattling noise, bro. The ratifications of all powers be disposition in the archives of the government of the German Empire. When all the ratifications shall be sent in, there will be drawn up a deposit act in the shape of a protocol to be signed by the representatives of all powers which have taken part in the Conference of Berlin, of which by a certified copy sent to each powers. So this is held in Germany. Like this official document is held in Germany along with all the signatures. And all the copies and testimony, all the copies just divvied out to everybody else. The testimony whereof Sarah plenipotentiaries have signed the General Act and have thereof. Done at Berlin, 26th day of February, 1885. Ain't nobody gonna read this shit or listen to this fucking shit. So it was whatever. That's the Berlin Conference. If y'all want to go to the source, go to Germany. Everybody signed it. I'm out. That's the increases. Perfect. Whatever. Bro, I'm out. Like I said, if anybody want to read this shit, if anybody, what it's there you go. I posted it.